exact bans as GE. Let's find out. Nidalee taken out of Karsa's champion pool right now. That's a bit interesting. He does play Nidalee, but Rengar, I think, is the big threat for him.
Automatically, you'd assume that the SK would want to go for the Rek'Sai first pick. I think Yowie should absolutely ban this champion. Take a Rengar versus Lee Sin matchup, something like that. Don't let Sven get his hands on it. This champion has so much sustain, which allows him to stay in the lane, and by staying in lane, he gets even further sustain, charges up that passive, and does not have to go back and always ulti back in. You don't want him to be pressuring the match at all times.
So interestingly, yesterday SK was on blue side and Yowie was on the red side. We did see Yowie, Graves, Zed, LeBlanc bans in their first game, mirroring so far Irelia, Nidalee, and Ahri out for SK. Yesterday it was Nidalee, Maokai, and Ahri, so taking the Irelia out instead. And there is the Lucian. So the Lulu's still available, and so is the LeBlanc, which was their final ban yesterday. So do you go for that? The answer is yes.
And they've noticed that the most important thing is giving stake the Maokai, something that he can really shut down somebody, especially like the LeBlanc. LeBlanc can never find herself in a situation where she's using her W near the Maokai. Maokai uses the reactive twisted advance, and all of a sudden LeBlanc is caught. Take the Rek'Sai away. I'm not sure I agree with this LeBlanc pick from SK. You know the Diana is going to be able to do decently well against the LeBlanc. Rek'Sai, in my opinion, would have been a better pick. Force Sven to just brute force against the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, it should be interesting, especially, yeah, I think the Rek'Sai is perfect pickup right now. And what do? You can still get the Lulu if you want to play that lane bully role, but what AD do you pair with it? Do you try and take away the Caitlyn here, put NL in a little bit of a different position, but they may actually go for a Corki, a very un-SK-like champion.
Well, if they pull it off, impressive adaptation of them to basically shed off their entire team composition from the entire ULCS and pull something different here. But it wouldn't be a surprise if the Flash Wolves decide to go with just a classic Janna Caitlyn right here.
Yeah, the thing is this is going to change the dynamic of this game a lot, because SK needs to realize that they can't just go for their instant hard push style. This is about waiting patiently, surviving until you get the Trinity Force, and then making your power play onto the turrets instead. So are they practiced enough in this strategy to be able to hit that power spike timing? I'm not sure, but at the same time, we do have Freddy's Gnar. He was great on Gnar yesterday, probably the best rage usage out of anybody we've seen play Gnar so far in this tournament, and really racking up a lot of kills.
I think what this shows is that SK perhaps going to go with a little bit of a harder engaged team composition, particularly knowing that the remaining junglers are going to be the Rengar, the Lee Sin, and the Jarvan. And we have seen the Annie from Enrated yesterday. He has also played Leona, and with a Kog'Maw, hard engaged, and all of a sudden looking really good.
They may have some difficulty peeling right there for the Kog'Maw. I'm very interested that we do see Sword Art playing that Morgana. Now, that has been a frequent pick, but even then, the Janna here, you have to believe, may be the better choice.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Maple going for a mid lane Morgana and then going with the Janna as your final support and going for a more death ball oriented team comp. Morgana in the mid lane can hold her own very easily against the LeBlanc.
Yeah, very true.
Eventually in the team fights, you know, the Black Shield is going to be able to not be broken.
SK mulling over these last picks. Possibility of that Morgana flex in the mid lane.
I think they have to take the full engage. Ooh.
You know, there's another option here too, which is Lissandra into LeBlanc also.
I think the Janna looks a lot better here.
So there's the Rengar coming in one more time, and no surprise the Lulu support will be the selection for Enrated, his most played support by far so far this year. And now let's wait and see what we get in the last part of this draft. They are in fact going to play Morgana mid.
I really like the difference in style in these two team compositions. Both team comps have very different goals. The Rengar composition from SK, looking to fight in your jungle, speed the Rengar up, and if he gets ahead going in the early game, the Bone Tooth Necklace is going to just power him further and further. And, oh, that is a depth in style that we have not expected from the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, perhaps using that Ezreal mid. Of course, it has been extremely effective in the Korean scene overall, and part of the composition that CJ used yesterday.
I think Interestingly enough, the Maokai Rek'Sai is a really strong combination for helping the top lane out. And perhaps they're going for a different style, as we saw in the previous Flash Wolves game, where they want to help Stake out, get him ahead, and if he's strong enough, this lineup from SK, Sven is most likely going to have to build tank this game, which means that your late game physical damage is close to none.
Yeah, you really fall
Full
off.
magic damage. If the Rek'Sai goes for perhaps a Maw of Malmortius build, on top of the Black Shield, on top of the Maokai, damage reduction, which with hopefully an Aegis of the Legion, and then eventually your carries are going to get your Mercurial Scimitars, particularly to cleanse the Rengar Bola. You know, this game gets a late game. SK is not looking so hot.
Yeah, it's true. But we won't have the big black shields this game, so it's not quite as effective. Still would have, I think, liked to have seen the Janna here instead of the support with Morgana, but we'll have to see how they play it out.
Yeah, picks and bans are on the board. We're about to get into SK versus the Flash Wolves right after this.
All right, guys, welcome to the first game of the day here at day 2 of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships. I'm Doa, with me is Quickshot and Deficio, of course, and we're about to see SK Gaming versus Yowie Flash Wolves. The winner moves on to face TSM. Now, yesterday, the GE Tigers kind of gave us a roadmap for how to beat SK. Do you think the Flash Wolves can follow it?
I don't think they're on the same level as GE Tigers, so they won't have the same strategic knowledge about how or what to do early game against SK. But this pick and ban phase is very different from what we normally see. Corki is a champion we've never seen for give and play in the LCS. And it's simply because Corki is not as good in the laning phase itself compared to like Graves, where you can really push that early game, you can get that fast tower. Corki is so much more about the mid game. That should buy a little bit of time for the Yowie Flash Wolves to survive at least the first stage of the game. Problem is mid game, fantastic spikes for SK here.
And I think it's very important for the Flash Wolves to survive that early game because their team will do well as time ticks on, but they cannot afford to give SK any advantage.
And very true. SK Gaming on the blue side, Yowie Flash Wolves on the red side, and it is time, everybody, to get in the game and see who survives as the final team to advance from Group A. Here we go. Welcome to Summoner's Rift. SK Gaming versus the Yowie Flash Wolves. And SK showing us something a bit different here.
We'll
see if they can handle it.
The one thing I want to see, Doa, from SK's side is how aggressive they play. Yesterday, SK beat Flash Wolves in the early game. When Flash Wolves played Cloud9, Cloud9 also beat Flash Wolves in the early game. So Flash Wolves have got a lot of things they need to shake up from yesterday's 2 games for this team come to work.
I got that early ward right away. Nice reactions by SK right off the bat as they put some deep wards into the Yowie Flash Wolf jungles.
I really want to get some information here at level 1, see if they can spot where Yowie Flash Wolves are sending their dual lane. I like the ward here. It is of course spotted because you see them move up and place it, but it is outside of the tower range, so it won't be cleared. And now, if the dual lane from Yowie Flash Wolves is going to the top lane, they will show themselves and SK Gaming can move around it. But what SK normally does, even if they want a lane swap or not, they will always start a camp at level 1 with the dual lane, just to get that XP advantage in case they get in a 2v2 lane. And therefore they won't get a freeze, a freeze that Steak will be able to go up and take advantage of, because he will get a lot of farm in that lane if Forgiven is pushing it into him. SK is not exactly a team who dives the enemy top lane, they just take that tower. It's the only thing they aim for. Take the tower early in a lane swap.
I think it's important that Steak is on that Maokai. His Gnar yesterday left a lot to be desired. Freddy was trying to put SK Gaming on his back yesterday with Gnar. But we need to see whether or not Steak can get to that tanky front line he needs to.
So I want to see the Yuri Flash Wolves freeze this bottom lane now, and they're doing it. I like this move, because against Freddy, if you freeze the wave, SK value getting Freddy farms so much that often Enrated will now recall and go down to the bottom lane and play the 2v2 lane with Freddy just to let him farm on this Gnar here. And that means Forgiven is left on his own in the top lane. He can't really push the tower as fast. And we might even see Svenskar here being caught out.
Svenskar could be in a little bit of trouble, already low from taking that camp, has to burn that flash right away. And that's an early win for the Flash Wolves, getting that summoner down.
Yeah, I really like the start here. You invade onto the red buff. You are the one with the dual lane on the bottom side of the map, so you're stronger on that side. Right. And you don't allow Svenskar to start and take his own red buff. So he now has to go over, do the blue buff, and you still got that freeze in the bottom lane, meaning Freddy won't just pick up free farm. You know Forgiven is going to push the lane. You can see Enrated on your minimap. He just recalled. Let's see if he joins Freddy down this bottom lane.
Looks like he will be. Doa, you touched on the roadmap that GE Tigers painted for the Flash Wolves. They also started by freezing that lane against Freddy and forcing Enrated's hand. So we'll see. Maybe the Flash Wolves can read directions, but time will tell.
I think so. They don't quite have the GPS. You need like gorillas speaking in your ear. Please turn left at blue buff. Looks like we may have a bit of a dive here in bot lane. Do you think they're actually going to try this so early against Freddy? Doesn't look like it actually. Never mind. Drama averted.
Freddy is level 3 at this point, and Enrated had left the top lane, so it would have been a little bit too risky. So you can see he's trying to get down to this bottom lane, being denied by the Yuri Flash Wolves. And we see a little change for Forgiven as well. Now that he's not playing Corgi Lucian and he really wants to get that BF sword after he takes the tower and become a lane bully, he's just freezing the lane. So Steak, not really getting any farm for himself, instead trying to be annoying in the bottom lane.
Yeah, he's doing a good job of it too. Freddy just forced back already. Gonna lose a little bit more CS, a little bit more XP. And SK already looking like they're in a bit of an uncomfortable spot in these early minutes.
Yeah, strong start from the Flash Wolves. It actually reminds me of the Fnatic versus SK match from a couple of weeks ago, where Fnatic had a very similar focus in invading the jungle, trying to shut down Freddy. What SK did to bounce back was roaming with Fox's LeBlanc, and he was also playing up against a mid lane Ezreal, and Fox was able to solo kill Febiven's Ezreal. So there is a bit of a ticking time bomb on where the damage can come from, and I want to see if Maple can play safe enough in lane.
Basically, this mid lane matchup means that SK Gaming has all the pressure around that lane itself. So once Svenskar hits level 6, you can see him and the LeBlanc start roaming around. But Yuri Flash Wolves, I love the way they're playing it, because Enrated, after he got denied going to the bottom lane from this mid lane here, he went back to the top lane for no reason. Because when you're freezing the lane as an AD carry, why do you need your support there? There's nobody you're denying from. Steak was in the bottom lane all the time. So Yuri Flash Wolves, you're getting a fast tower, they get a dragon as well, and Forgiven has gained nothing so far. This is a very different early game from SK, and they're losing out on this lane swap because they don't know where to be on the map. Especially that support roam from Enrated made 0 sense. He achieved nothing up there in the top lane.
That's right. I mean, Flash Wolves come away with that, with a turret, with a dragon. They're going to get their second blue buff, and by kind of forcing Forgiven onto that Corki, there really isn't the pushing power that you see him normally have on Lucian Graves. I think the Flash Wolves are playing this beautifully so far.
It's a fantastic early game. The question is, how long can they keep it going?
Yeah.
The one thing I do like, it also accelerates the mid-game power spike that an Ezreal and a Kog'Maw could theoretically get closer towards if the Flash Wolves can keep this up, because again, they need to buy time for Ezreal and for Kog'Maw to get enabled and have that activation in terms of power.
Right, a little bit of action in the mid lane. Fox taking a chunk out of Maple, and it looks like we're going to see that 2v2 in the top lane now as NL and Sword Art rotate up there and Steak down in the bot lane for good now. And do you think SK is going to want to maybe change it up themselves, send their bot lane bot?
No, because at the moment you have Corgi a level ahead of Never Lose, and at the same time you got a Sheen completed to only the makings of a Phage. So right now Forgiven is going to be stronger, especially if Enrated joins him. So that's why you want to have that 2v2 lane to at least try and shut down Never Lose a bit, because he gave up a lot of farm when you're 4-man pushing a lane in the bottom lane. I mean, you don't just sit there and just get all the CS. No, you push it in, you get that tower, you recall very early as well and walk all the way to the top lane. So SK Gaming is making the right call here in taking the 2-on-2 lane, because it also means that Freddy, who's been getting some farm after that tower died in the bottom lane, can get the 1-on-1 against Maokai that he really likes on Gnar.
Karza may be coming in here, lurking in that tri-brush. We've seen a bit of action from him already this game, but no first blood just yet. Pausing for a moment to try, and now he's going to move down to mid, so no ganks yet from that powerful Rek'Sai. And going back to the first round of that pick, too, the Flash Wolves got Maokai and Rek'Sai. Do you think that was too much to give up?
I don't know. I mean, yes, all 3 games that SK or Flash Wolves were involved in yesterday had a first pick Rek'Sai, and it was in the first rotation. But Karsa did not necessarily have the greatest of performances across his 2 games yesterday. When he did play Rengar against SK, little to no impact. I really don't feel like he had a particularly strong game. As the game progressed, he just became a null factor because SK was dancing around him and played the map very effectively.
I think it's a little bit harsh to say, honestly, because he's Rengar early on. He was the guy who created the picks for them, at least. He got 2 or 3 early kills, but yes, around the team fights, he couldn't do anything because the Yori Flash Wolves didn't know how to set them up properly with the poke and again the pick potential you got off of Rengar. Instead, they would like group as 5 at the Dragon and allow SK Gaming to be the team to engage onto them every time. But another trade in this mid lane here.
That's a lot of damage coming in from Fox. Maple adjusts that tier, not able to answer, but here comes Karza forcing the flash out of Fox right away. True shot, barrage goes through, nearly finishes him up, but there's a bola coming in from Svenskar, and Sword Art coming down to try to grab that first blood. Looks like SK may be able to escape. Here comes Maokai, Snake coming in from that bot lane, just irritating Svenskar a little bit longer. Man, a close call for Fox, and I thought Fox was going to have that advantage with that needlessly large rod pickup against the tier 2. That's a lot more damage than Ezreal has.
And that's why he went offensive, but you can see how the Yori Flash Wolves, they had pushed out the bottom lane, so Freddy was standing at his tier 2 tower, and they instantly roamed from the lane towards the mid here. So once we had the engage in there, suddenly the LeBlanc was overextended, and the Yori Flash Wolf could go in, force 2 flashes now from SK, because Svenskar was caught by it as well. But we saw the pressure in the mid lane. You just mentioned the item advantage for SK, and also because LeBlanc just can go all in against Ezreal. There's no kill threat from an Ezreal mid lane early on, and we saw how SK wanted to play around it. Svenskar invaded into the enemy jungle, get a few deep wards down. Sadly for them, or not sadly, but just a little bit too aggressive because the bottom lane had been pushed out and Yori Flash Wolf were roaming.
Yeah, it's something that Fox does very, very often in this matchup. And again, has been successful in the past. I just want to touch on itemization quickly because Freddy is once again going double Doran's Blade into Doran's Shield on his Gnar. Yesterday, I believe he rushed a Sunfire Cape as his next big item. It's just very different itemization, and I know so you and Monty have been talking about the changes.
Here, and Raiden could be in trouble. Force the flash right there. Forgiven with the 1v3, but he's got Yoi Flash with so low health. NL backing away, taking a few more autos. It looks like they'll be able to push them back. Misses that rocket on the sword. Oh, he got him with the binding. NL not able to quite get up there with the damage with N-rated supporting, so still no first blood quite yet.
And you can see how SK is using Forgiven here because he got some more farm in that lane.
Oh, Fox coming in, trying to put some damage, misses the chains onto NL. That could have very easily been a kill.
And again, Fox roaming. This is exactly how SK got back into the game 2 weeks ago after losing an early tower and after an early game didn't go in their favor. I think Forgiven and Narrator should try to deny a little more CS here. They've got a very big minion wave, and look, rightly so, just trying to deny their opponents NL in a matchup that is going quite well. 30 CS difference roughly between Forgiven and Never Losers.
That's quite good. Looks like the turret does go down anyway for SK, so that will be their first of the game.
Yeah, and this Dragon coming up now in 45 seconds should belong to SK. They're pushing in the wave top. You get a good back timing as well for Forgiven. You got time to set up a few wards. And of course you got the LeBlanc in the mid lane, who's so much stronger than Ezreal at this point. Yori Flash Wolf had the option to put Morgana in the mid lane. Obviously not a Mabel champion per se, he's more like the assassin type, but Morgana would be able to just keep the wave even, basically just push it out every single time and no real kill pressure. And then you could go to the likes of Janna, Lulu support potentially, to really protect your 2 or your AD carry in the late game. But instead though, gone for this fairly risky mid lane matchup that's not been paying off for them yet.
Well, at least he's even on CS. Maple has been under the defensive side for quite a while, but it takes time again for the Ezreal to become relevant.
But that's the point. Yes, he's even in CS, but the current meta is so much about pressure. If you have the mid lane pressure, it allows your junglers to roam into the enemy jungle. It allows you to move from your mid lane to the two side lanes impact them as well. And when you combine the likes of teleports and of course the Rengar ulti, that's a lot of setup SK can suddenly do to collapse 5-man in one lane and get a few kills.
But that's the stylistic differences between the team
Very
comps.
much.
Flash
Very
Wolves
much.
opted into a low-pressure laning phase for a high-pressure late game, and we'll see as Flash Wolves are on the Dragon.
Yeah, they get their second dragon as well, too. Are they going to try to turn around on SK? Dark Binding doesn't connect, so it looks like the Flash Wolves, they get away clean here. Not have to fight. They were ready, though.
Yeah, that was a little bit strange from SK. Poor back timing, honestly, for them. Saw that LeBlanc just came from the base. When you have the Corki who's already a bit ahead compared to the enemy AD carry, you are very far ahead in the mid lane as well. And you got, of course, your ulti ready on Rengar. You didn't have to sacrifice that dragon. You should have been there in time. You were the ones who got the tower. You were the ones who could have moved down a minute before. That was a misplay by SK.
There have been so many very close Dark Bindings from Sword Art. If you would have hit like one of his last 3, they probably would have been able to get a kill, but he just hasn't been connecting with those yet.
No, not just at the minutes. 12 minutes on the clock, though. Fox is starting to chip away at that middle outer turret.
Yep.
Maple, not a lot of wave clear outside of his ultimate, and decides not to use it, but Stake wants a piece of Freddy.
Yeah, coming in on Freddy. Freddy getting very low. He's got that flash if he needs to escape. Doesn't need to burn that quite yet, but still a lot of pressure coming in from Stake in that top lane. A little bit tough for Freddy right now. That's going to be a decent amount of damage on that turret, too, if Stake wants it to be.
Yeah, you deny the entire wave. Very good trade for him. It's funny with the Yori Flash Wolves, because we talked about yesterday when they played SK, how it felt like they were forced.
Oh, here we go. Fox going deep under the turret. Karza is right there. Fox tries to escape, but first blood goes to Karza and the Yoi Flash Wolves. Fox getting a bit over-eager there with that LeBlanc damage, and he paid for it.
Second time he's going in, and then there's a counter gank from the Yori Flash Wolf. They're reading it really well in this mid lane, how to punish an aggressive LeBlanc player, but the Yori Flash Wolf now have 2 dragons to 0. Yesterday against SK, they tried to fight for every single dragon, because back in the EULCS, we very often see SK go for that 5th dragon win strategy, where they simply deny everything from the other team and they get the dragon so early.
Right.
But in this game here, the Yori Flash Wolf, with their lane swap, with the fast move here where SK came in late, 2 dragons to 0, so that win strategy from SK is out of the window at the moment, and you just got a very nice kill in the mid lane.
Yeah,
I think Karza's going to find Freddy.
I think he will too. Freddy in a little bit of trouble. There's a knock up the flash twist advance. Freddy in a lot of trouble now, and there's another easy kill for Karza and the Yoi Flash Wolves. This Rek'Sai starting to get very scary, but Yoi Flash Wolves, now the kills are coming in.
Freddy with a blind invade. There was no vision for SK Gaming. He had nothing he could have been doing there. It was just not a safe play at all.
Well, that's been a traditional problem for SK, right? Is the warding just has not been there, and already they're paying for a little bit with that kill on Freddy. They cannot afford that.
Yeah, and yesterday when Freddy gave up a kill in the opponent's jungle, Sven, as well as Forgiven and Narrated, actually operated a tower dive to punish their opponents for, looking for that kill. This time around, there's nothing for SK to push. There's no deep vision for them. And thanks to Freddy going down, he's not in place to defend this tower. So Flash Wolves going to get their second tower. This is a phenomenal early game for the #1 team out of the LMS region. They're showing SK up. Again, we're going to keep talking about that roadmap.
They really are. Sword Art pops that black shield, exhaust onto Fox. Can he get away? Teleport coming in as well. N-rated trying to help with that kill. Well, here we go. Stake coming into the teleport. Looks like SK already disengaging now, and that's an okay teleport to use because Freddy is still down for a while.
Yeah, and he's just sitting so far back, he's not going to be able to apply any pressure in that top lane itself. And Yoi Flash Wolves, their late game is fantastic here. You got a hyper carry, you got a Maokai in the top lane, obviously. They are more than happy with the way this early game is going for them. And we mentioned how SK Gaming should be winning the early game in terms of also just looking at the teams, where the Yoi Flash Wolves are a lot better late game where they can kite around. It's what we saw when they beat Cloud9 yesterday as well. They had to go full late game before they could really start picking up some kills. SK Gaming are not doing a good job here. I mean, that little invade or whatever it was from Freddy.
Yeah.
Everyone else was either back in base or in the bottom lane. I mean, there's nobody nearby, and yet he walks into the enemy jungle. That's different from what we have seen Freddy do the last few weeks, but is somewhat the greedy style he likes to play.
The one thing I do want to highlight, though, despite the fact that SK have had some misplays, and despite the fact that Flash Wolves have had such a good start to this matchup, 1 tower down, 2 kills down. Look at the CS differences between the respective laners. Advantage mid, advantage top, massive advantage AD carry. SK Gaming are still relevant in gold, Yes, however, they do need to, in theory, should have a lead because of the headroom that the Flash Wolves team comp has. It's going to scale more effectively. It's going to get better as time goes on. But you can't deny the fact that at the moment, it's not over just yet.
Oh, no. Far from being over, but it just means SK Gaming is more now. They're forced to really make some plays now and create that goal lead because they haven't gotten it from the early game itself. Otherwise, once we get to 30 minutes, 35, that's where the Yuri Flash Wolves comp really is going to start to shine. The Maokai is going to become unkillable. Corgi is not a champion who's going to shut down a massive tank in the late game. So that singles out Forgiven in those fights, and he's normally the main carry for SK in the big team fights.
Well, unfortunately for SK, they had that little bit of time where Forgiven had the Trinity Force. NL was still a ways away from it, but now NL just picked it up. That window is kind of closed, so SK, they've got these, little chances to sort of come back, to push a tower, to push a lane, to get a kill or two, but they're just not hitting them quite yet.
Yeah, and it's those individual mistakes that cost. Fox going on that tower dives, Freddy getting caught out top lane.
Yeah.
If you remove those misplays, what opportunities could have happened?
That'll be a much closer game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
So.
And it still is a fairly close game right now, but SK could have made it a little bit tighter.
So, Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. You cannot give it up if you are SK Gaming. You cannot fall that far behind in terms of objectives.
Definitely.
And also, you still have your LeBlanc, who is so strong compared to an Ezreal just sitting on a mana immune. Not fully stacked. No components for the Trinity Force build yet either. You need to be able to fight for this one from SK, but they're giving up the control around the Dragon itself. Only have one pink ward as well to try and really deny any vision from the Yuri Flash Wolves, so they can see everything going on here and can find the right engage with the Maokai.
Well, SK, it looks like they're going to try something. Alt pop by Svenskeren, and he's going in. Will he find anyone? Jumping onto Karza, no other targets there. Black Shield comes down. Svenskeren locked up. He's in big trouble now. There's a Wild Growth, can't save him. Karza in a little bit. Well, he gets the kill. Meanwhile, Stake goes down to Fox, so SK draws a kill as well. Meanwhile, big Gnar ultimate. Can SK capitalize? Double kill now for Fox. They're backing away. A double for Karza throughout this fight as well. And in the end, will anybody be able to take this Dragon?
Seems not, at least. 2 for 2 trade. Freddy really saved that team fight for SK Gaming with his ulti, but we saw it engage. It came in, everyone from Yuri Flash Wolves were just backing away. Svenskeren went for target, dived in basically on his own, got killed very early on, and then it was a very messy fight for SK. They are the team who needs to win this one. Let's see. Notice how the Yuri Flash Wolves, they're all moving away. They can see SK moving in as a team, so they single out Rengar first. He's not tanky at this point. That's an easy first kill. Stake will go down as well. Only sits on a catalyst, if I remember correctly. It's not that tanky. Great ulti from Freddy, though. Saves the fight. Trades 2 for 2.
Yeah, really, really big hits. I think Stake actually not a terrible position, despite not being tanky enough. Kept the damage dealers of SK busy, so that the AD carries were under less threat. Now in rating, he's been caught.
Yeah, that's right, and he's going to have a hard time getting out. He's going to try NL actually flashing for that one, but a kill is a kill, and they really want this Dragon. If that flash can lead them to an objective, and it looks like it may be able to, totally worth it. Svenskeren, though, lurking outside. They see him with a ward, and try to pull that Dragon out.
And again, greedy vision, greedy lack of vision from Enrated. Got caught out in the river. Fox is going to try this one. Look at the delay from Flash Wolves.
Came into the Dragon pit, was like, nope, terrifying. Dragon taken by Yoi Flash was Forgiven, locked up as well. He goes down. Svenskeren has to back away. Solo health, trying to kind of make an exit for Fox, but here comes Freddy. Not Mega Gnar anytime soon, but it's enough to chase SK away. Fox thinking about still trying to make a play here.
The thing is, that's Dragon number 3 at 19 minutes for Flash Wolves. That ticking time bomb, not only do Flash Wolves have a team comp that will scale very well, but they're 2 Dragons away from aspect of the Dragon. We could see a 32 to 35 minute 5 Dragon Flash Wolves.
Well, it's like what the Flash Wolves are doing to SK, what SK does to other teams a lot.
Basically, yeah. And what SK normally does is they punish you if you make individual mistakes, because they will kill you. But Yuri Flash Wolves in this game are punishing SK Gaming every single time. And Rated walked into the Dragon on his own. It was already warded up from the Flash Wolves before, and obviously they just catch him out. There's been so many mistakes from SK, and the Yuri Flash Wolves have done a great job simply punishing them for everything, taking the towers, taking the Dragons. They've done everything they could in this early game.
Yeah, and you go back to picks and bans. That was a first pick LeBlanc that is not as effective as the first rotation Rek'Sai. Karsa is looking very, very comfortable on this champ. He's been responding to the aggressive plays from SK well. Fox overdiving top, Freddy overextending.
Oh, Fox coming in, and well, Maple, it's hard to lock down an Ezreal, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I really like Karsa's positioning across this game. involved in 5 out of the team's 6 kills, and anytime SK appears to be moving in a direction, Castle with his tremor sense obviously an advantage, making use of that.
I just really like the way they played the early game overall from the Flash Wolves side, from the lane swap, how they basically made sure SK Gaming couldn't get free farm on Freddy or couldn't let Forgiven just sit up there on the Corki. We saw how once SK didn't really know how they should respond, suddenly Enraider was sitting in that top lane with Forgiven really doing a whole lot, and that resulted in a Dragon for the Yoi Flash Wolves, and they've been pushing top lane as well. I mean, they've been making so many good plays here, and that's why despite having the weaker comp in the mid game, or in the early game we can say, they are hitting gold.
Yeah, you look at the fact that Flash Wolves are grouping up. They are reducing the number of weaknesses and also reducing the opportunities for Sven to make plays by staying as a team.
He finds Svenskeren in the brush there. Cars are right there. Svenskeren just adding a little bit more damage on. Chase is really far. The entire Yoi Flash Wolves team's right there, so that's a little bit dangerous to chase.
There's still a little problem for the Yoi Flash Wolves, is that Stake is very far behind compared to Freddy, so there's a big difference in terms of the 2 tanks at the moment, and that's why I like Stake delaying his Rod of Ages or Righteous Glory. He's not going to go Rod of Ages at this point, it's too late for him. Instead, you just get that Catalyst and you start building tank from there, because you know you need the tank stats more than extra mobility from the Righteous Glory. You have already a composition that's not looking to engage on SK, but more, you know, kite back, and then see an opening when SK overextends, and then you jump in. So I really like how he's kind of sacrificing his first item just to get some tanky stats early on, because he knows there's going to be fights. He knows SK Gaming is looking for them. For now, though, SK still trying to split push with Freddy up in his top lane. He's done a decent job, at least in terms of farm, but he's not been able to put a lot of pressure in terms of the towers.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a few more wards coming out now for SK as well, trying to get a little bit more vision in that chop jungle at least. Whoa, big chunk taken on a Fox with that 2-shot barrage. Do you feel like the vision is still lacking a bit for SK right now?
It is, unless you look around the mid lane itself, where they have placed a lot of wards because they're trying to at least push up that lane with Forgiven on the Corki. But on the rest of the map, I mean, you have no sidestone on your jungler. You have an upgraded totem now on your top lanes, so that's fine. But if you look on the side of Yoi Flash Wolves, you have upgraded totem, you got 2 side stones, obviously. There's way more wards for them to place if they want to cover the entire map, where SK is going to focus more on like one area. At the moment, it is the mid lane because this tower is fairly low, and Forgiven on this Corki is sitting on a big spike with the Trinity Force and BT.
Looks
so
like
that is the right play.
And so SK tying up the turrets with that second one in mid. Dragon up in a little less than 2 minutes now, and with Yoi Flash Wolves on that third Dragon, SK with taking that mid lane, maybe in a little bit better position finally to really contest the Dragon.
We'll see if SK decides to play that way. I think that with proper positioning, the damage advantage that Forgiven has on Corki may be enough to get through this relatively squishy Stake. He's got mostly MR stacked up. There's not a lot of additional armor outside of that cloth. And given enough time, even Corki can take him down. Freddy, though, is going to get run down by 3.
Ult used by Sword Art. There's the ult from Meganar right before it ends, but Freddy's still in huge trouble. Caught again. Another kill. This one going on to Maple.
And they're keeping some defense here in the mid lane, but SK is pushing up. There's only 2 guys. The rest were back in base. It's somewhat the same as earlier when Freddy walked into an enemy jungle and died. Yeah. SK Gaming were not in a position to take a tower across map objective once you send 4 or 5 guys to kill Freddy in that top lane. And that's why it's just a free kill for the Yoi Flash Wolves. Dragon, 45 seconds now. Freddy will be up in time. Stake is still not going to be too tanky for it.
Oh, Flash Wolves are just going to push down this mid lane and possibly take this turret.
Yeah, you have 4 guys, you have a TP ready as well. Yeah. If SK wants to fight here, it's going to be in a disadvantage.
Yeah, they're just going to get the turret easily.
I think that's Sven. He's got the ulti going.
Yep, that's right. Trying to make something happen. Svenskeren jumps in, jumps out.
Freddy coming out.
Trying to make something happen. Yep, Freddy came in with that TP. Forgiven trying to do damage from the outside, but meanwhile in the back lines, Karza causing lots of trouble. There's a kill already on the Rengar. Meanwhile, Forgiven does pick one up, but Fox zoned out of this fight, still manages to get in and get a kill onto Karza. Freddy zoning as he backs away, and SK, I think they're done in this one. It was a fight that SK arguably won, but are they going to be able to contest the Dragon after it?
Well, again, it's 4 guys left for them. LeBlanc and Lulu is still very, very low, where we got full HP and Mabel on the side, so they could back very quickly and rush that Dragon. It seems they're staying instead. And now that's a bit of a late back time. It opens up for the Yoi Flash Wolves to get back down there. Remember the ulti from Karza, so he can quickly join in for 4 versus 4. Freddy even stopped his recall now. Yep. It's interrupted, I believe, by the Yoi Flash Wolves. So now you don't really have that push for the Dragon. SK should have recalled instantly after the fight and then run down as 5, get there before Kasa, and Never Lose could join in time.
Oh, wow. Yoi Flash Wolves going for this dragon now. Will they be able to get it? Seems a bit risky with Svenskeren nearby.
Freddy's not there, though.
Not quite yet. He's trying to get there, but it will be a 5v4 for the moment. Stake trying to be that big front line now. The dragon does reset slightly. There's a bit of damage coming in from that true shot barrage. The dance continues. Svenskeren tries to land the bowl on NL. Doesn't quite connect with it.
And Freddy's getting closer, Doa. This is going to be a massive team fight. No Meganar.
Yep, no Meganar. That is huge. Here we go. Karza coming in. Stake trying to get the back lines. Kills on each side so far. Yoi Flash Wolves trying to kite back
Dragon
as best
as
they
well.
can. Dragon still very low. SK could turn on
Sendo
it.
smite.
They're going to try, and there it is. Dragon taken by SK. They saved themselves from having to deal with a 4 Dragon Yoi Flash Wolves. That's huge.
That is such a big pause timer. 6 additional minutes that SK have bought themselves. The scary thing is, though, it took so much investment from SK Gaming, from that mid lane team fight to dancing to waiting for Freddy. If Freddy had been a little bit delayed, that could have been such a different story. Could have been Dragon number 4. And I don't know if SK is going to keep having that time. Stake is going to get beefier. He's got himself the Kindle Gem. He's got himself some more armor. Stake is going to be a lot more difficult to take down.
For sure. I mean, he's only going to get stronger and stronger, and we got 24s completed now for Maple in the mid lanes. Massive spike for him on this Ezreal. It's really so much about these 2 items for him. You can already see his damage. If he gets onto a target,
Fox in a
there
little
we go,
bit of
one
trouble.
more.
There's the passive. Oh, true shot barrage. Tried to predict it, didn't quite get it. I liked when you said Stake was getting beefier a moment ago. That was a good one. It was clever, man.
Was that me?
I thought we said we weren't going to
that
do
was
any.
totally
I know.
unintended.
I wanted to, congratulate you on that. I know we said we were done, but
Oh, it was accidental. I'm sorry, internet. I got yelled at for saying too many yesterday.
Can you really get enough steak, though?
Dude, that's
Never.
not. We
Never.
don't need to kick a dead horse or whatever it is.
well,
What's
I guess
the
you shouldn't do
phrase?
that either. But it's
Beat a dead horse. believe it.
Thank you.
don't kick dead horses.
I'm
either.
totally
Sage
flustered at the
advice from Quickshot. Thank you. Flash Wolves trying to get a little bit more vision around that dragon pit. It is a point of contention now that we're reaching near 30 minutes into this game. Mid lane being pushed up by both teams.
Interesting itemization as well. NL gone for that static shiv as opposed to a blade rush potentially.
So I think he's doing it just for more wave clear, because again they want to buy more time to get to late game for himself, because Blade would have been a lot better against the likes of a Gnar, because once Gnar jumps towards you, I mean that's his mobility gone. You blade him and you just kite back with the Morgana as well, and you're going to be very hard to shut down in the fight itself. So this is purely just for wave clear for the Yoi Flash Wolves, and allowing them simply to have Mabel and Never Lose together defending their towers. Because again, it's still just a waiting game for them.
This is a good timing for the Yoi Flash Wolves to push down mid lane. Meganar did just expire for Freddy. He's got that exhaust going. I don't know if SK can really turn on this. Svenskeren pops the ult. He thinks he can. Maple may be in a little bit of trouble. Arcane shift back. There's a knock-up on Svenskeren. Wild Growth will save him for now, but he's still going to go down. Meanwhile, Swordart has to flash away from his own ultimate. Stake and Karza coming in, and those 2 tanks are going to do so much in the backlines. Meganar comes up for Freddy just in time, but now the kill's coming in for NL. Yoi Flash Wolves takes that fight handily.
And they play so well around this Rengar here. Whenever Svenskeren tries to jump in, you see how Kasa, he unborrows, he knocks him up first, and a binding is already in the air from Swordart to just lock him down. Easy target, Lulu ulti gets blown and everything, and they do it so well. They just step back, single out one guy, gets Svenskeren jumping in, and then Stake re-engages after, and then it's this mega tank in the backline of SK. There's no tools to kill him. Yoi Flash Wolves have gotten already to a late game point. You got 2 items on your 2 carries, your tank is getting there as well, and they play so well around these fights. SK Gaming is running out of options.
It's the second team fight in a row that SK has initiated, and look at the pink ward, instantly dropped. So Svenskeren was completely red.
They see everything to know when to knock him up, when to bind him, and then it's a first kill. The front line is already gone now. There was no Mega Gnar for Freddy, came extremely late as well for SK Gaming. So just an easy fight for the Yoi Flash Wolves, and they're looking great.
Oh, absolutely, man. Flash Wolves in a good position. They're going to try to maybe go for this Baron here in the near future. But man, when you see Karza and Stake get into the back lines, as SK Gaming, like, what do you do?
Nothing.
You're kind of dead.
That's basically it. So Stake at this point can also go for Righteous Glory now, because his team has gotten so strong that if he can engage onto SK, that's a good way of simply winning the fights, because you don't really have to worry too much about Svenskeren anymore. He's not tanky enough to really dive in there, and you have good pink ward positions already to spot him, and we've seen time and time again they play around this Rengar really well.
Yeah, and that middle lane team fight that we had a while ago before the previous Dragon, Flash Wolves actually invested 3 pink wards into the river. In the last sort of 5-6 minutes, there's been about 6 or 7 pink ward kills that SK have secured. Flash Wolves, despite having to invest this money because they're playing against a Rengar, they're doing it effectively. They've always been able to read Svenskaren's engages, and because Flash Wolves have stayed grouped for such a long time, there's no stragglers to pick off. There's nobody for Svenskaren to punish. It's very, very smart. From the early game to the mid game to now this late game, Flash Wolves have got a great, great plan that's working.
And this is what we see whenever SK doesn't win the early game. They don't get to do their 1-3-1 split push because they don't dictate the map. They're not strong enough to win the side lanes as well. And Inhibitor going down now.
Yeah, looks like it will, and Flash will secure the first inhibitor. Meanwhile, they trap Svenskaren with that Dark Binding. They're going to blow him up immediately. Wild Growth may save him. No, Sword Art picks up that kill. Freddy trying to get in, gets a big Meganar ult, but Flash Wolves just turn right around on that. There was no follow-up, and SK just kind of waiting for the rest of their team to sort of die. Fox
with minions, I think they're pushing the Nexus though.
I think they might be, yeah. It's a little bit dangerous. The health on Stake, Karza, Maple, a little bit low.
Yeah, I also didn't notice Forgiven didn't go down in the fight.
That's true too. I think Baron's a much safer option here, don't you think?
Well, there won't really be any response, so yeah, that should be a fairly easy one for the Yoi Flash Wolves.
Just really, really well played. You would not think this is the same team. If you watched Flash Wolves yesterday and contrasted the games to this one, obviously, just such a great amount of growth.
Fox,
Baron is being started, and here comes SK.
Baron taken by Yoi Flash Wolves already. Fox trying to throw out a chain, can't quite hit anybody with it, and it looks like SK not going to be able to get anything out of this Baron from the Yoi Flash Wolves. The Empowered Recall is going to send them back right away. Pings on
maybe
the
a dragon
turret going down. Yeah, maybe there could be a dragon for SK. I think that's fairly likely, actually.
Should be able to get the dragon at least, but because the third one or the fourth one was stopped from the Yoi Flash Wolves, they're not really waiting for that fifth one anyway.
Right.
Just a bit of
They've got Baron buffs, so they're okay for now as far as big buffs go, and that will be another dragon, it looks like, for SK Gaming. That is their second, I believe.
Yeah, second dragon. They also, minions managed to take a tower for SK Gaming and the bottom lane against the Flash Wolves. So again, just falling a little bit further behind in terms of items, in terms of control. The way Flash Wolves have dictated the map, and they've pushed lanes consistently over and over. This is going to be so much easier with Baron. There's no teleport for Stake though, so he needs to stick with his team and rely on the super minions as opposed to a one super minion for bottom lane.
That's very true. I think you would have done anyway, honestly, just because you are so good in the 5-on-5 team fight, and you won't have any problems with double AD carry, pushing down these towers. Baron buffed minions as well, so just go and get a few hits every single time. You got Trinity Forces on the AD carries, or just I mean, that was the combo from Fox, and nothing happened.
Pretty much. Not a lot of damage. Black Shield helping out with quite a bit of that as well, too. That inhibitor turret getting a bit low. They actually catch Freddy with a Dark Binding, but the objective is the turret. There it goes. Stake getting in the back line. Zen Rating has to flash away. Karza looking for an opportunity as well. Svenskaren can't get in, can't do any damage. A double kill already for NL. There goes inhibitor number 2. And now we may see those Nexus turrets get pushed a little bit. NL's itemization is hilarious right now, too, by the way. He's got such a front line. Doesn't need any defensive items. Here comes Freddy. Huge Gnar ult, but where's the follow-up? Forgiven on Corki. Not a lot. Fox loses half his health immediately. Maple on a rampage with another kill on that. Freddy gets the double, and now only Forgiven standing between SK and elimination. There go the Nexus turrets. There goes the Nexus, and the Yoi Flash Wolves will move on to the semifinals. GG.
SK Gaming look flustered. Corki is not a lumberjack, and
Not really.
Stake was simply